The boardroom went completely silent as David slid the documents across the shiny table. His grin grew wider with every second. I picked up the papers, already knowing what they were. "Take your time reading them, Alex," he said, leaning back in his chair. "I want you to fully understand how badly I've beaten you. My name is Alexander Chen, and at 35, I was watching my younger brother betray me, stealing the tech company I had built from nothing." I scanned the documents, keeping my face calm. They were transfer forms, board resolutions, and shareholder agreements, all carefully put together to give control of Chen Solutions to David Chen. "It took me 2 years," David said, almost bouncing with excitement. "All those late nights you thought I was working to help the company, I was actually working to take it." I set the papers down and looked at him. At 32, he still had the same smug look he had as a kid whenever he thought he had outsmarted me. Some things never change. "Well?" he said when I didn't respond. "Nothing to say." I adjusted my tie. "Just one question. Have you checked the patents?" His smile faded slightly. "What about them?" "They belong to the company," he said firmly, "which means they belong to me now." I allowed myself a small smile. "Are you sure about that?" For a split second, doubt flashed in his eyes, but he quickly covered it with a laugh. "Nice try, Alex. But I thought of everything. Every asset, every contract, every piece of intellectual property. It's all mine now." Around the table, the board members, all people David had carefully chosen, shifted uncomfortably. They knew this was messy, but their loyalty had already been bought. "You know, David," I said, standing up slowly, "I always wondered if you'd try something like this. Ever since we were kids, you couldn't stand that I built something without you." He scoffed. "Built something? You got lucky with one idea in college. I'm the one who turned it into a real company." "Is that what you tell yourself?" Chen Solutions started in my dorm room 12 years ago, with one algorithm, one idea that I knew could change how companies handled data security. I brought David in 3 years later because our parents insisted I give my struggling younger brother a chance. "I deserve this company more than you," he said, his voice taking on the same whining tone he had as a child. "I'm better at business, better with people. You're just a programmer who got lucky." I picked up my briefcase, feeling the weight of the real documents inside, the ones David didn't know about. "We'll see about that," I said. Meeting adjourned. That's it. David called after me. "No fight? No threats? You're just walking away." I paused at the door. Sometimes, little brother, walking away is just the first step in a longer journey. The next morning, instead of going to Chen Solutions, I drove to my lawyer's office. Susan Martinez had been my legal counsel since the beginning. More importantly, she was one of the few people who knew the truth. "I take it he made his move?" she asked as I sat down. I nodded. "Just like we predicted, right down to the dramatic boardroom reveal." She pulled out a thick folder. "And the patents?" she asked. "He hasn't checked them yet," I said. "But he will." Susan smiled. "When he does, he's in for a big surprise." 2 years ago, when I first noticed David taking an unusual interest in our company's shareholder structure, I knew something was wrong. That's when I started preparing, making small, careful changes that looked like normal business decisions. While David was planning his takeover, I was planning something else entirely. "The new company is ready," Susan said, sliding a set of documents across the desk. "Quantum Core Technologies is officially incorporated, and all the key patents have already been transferred and registered." I picked up the papers, remembering the night I first suspected David's betrayal. It was during a family dinner. Flashback, 2 years ago. "You're working too hard, Alex," our mother said, passing me the dumplings. "You should let David handle more of the business side." I glanced at my brother. There was a certain look in his eyes, a gleam I recognized from our childhood. He was up to something. David smiled. "Actually, I've been thinking about taking on more responsibility. To help my overworked big brother." Our father beamed. "That's the spirit. You two, working together, building the family legacy." But I knew better. David had never wanted to build anything with me. He wanted to be the one in charge, the one everyone admired. That night, I made 2 important phone calls. The first was to Susan. I asked her to quietly begin transferring our most valuable patents under my personal ownership instead of the company's. The second was to Dr. Patel, my former professor and mentor. "I need your help," I told him, "and I need absolute discretion." For the next 6 months, while David thought I was focused on running the company, I was actually working on something new, something revolutionary. A quantum encryption algorithm that would make our current technology completely updated. I worked late nights, weekends, any free moment I could find without raising suspicion. Dr. Patel handled the quantum computing side, while I focused on the encryption architecture. David thought he was playing the perfect game, but he had no idea I had already made my next move. Meanwhile, David grew bolder. He started holding private meetings with board members, making subtle changes to reporting structures, and shifting key personnel into positions that would support his takeover. I let him think I didn't notice. Every move he made, I countered, so subtly he never saw it coming. The thing about David, I explained to Susan during one of our strategy sessions, is that he's always underestimated me. He thinks because I'm quiet, because I focus on the technical side, that I don't understand the business game he's playing. Susan nodded, jotting down notes. And that's our advantage. Exactly. He's so focused on taking what exists, he's not watching what's being created. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy. Every day, I went to the office, ran the company, and pretended not to see the betrayal unfolding around me. I had lunch with David, discussed projects, played the role of the oblivious older brother. Some days, watching him smile as he planned my downfall, I felt a deep sadness. We had been close once, before success and jealousy drove a wedge between us. I remembered teaching him to code in high school, staying up late helping him with his computer science homework. But that brother was gone. In his place was someone who saw my success as an insult, my achievements as something to be stolen rather than celebrated. So I built my contingency plans, I secured my patents, I developed the next generation of our technology, all while letting David believe he was the mastermind orchestrating my downfall. Present day. Everything's in place, Susan confirmed, pulling me back to the present. The moment he tries to access the patent documentation, he'll discover that the core technology belongs to you personally, not Chent. And the new quantum encryption patents are already safely registered under Quantum Core Technologies. I stood straightening my jacket. How long do you think it'll take him to figure it out? Susan glanced at her watch. Given his usual morning routine, I'd say, right about. My phone buzzed. David's name flashed on the screen. Now, she finished with a smirk. I let it ring. David could wait a little longer. After all, he'd spent 2 years planning my downfall. He could spend a few hours realizing just how badly he had miscalculated. What's your next move? Susan asked as I headed for the door. I paused, glancing back at the office I had built, the company David thought he could steal with a few signatures. Now, I said, we show him what real business strategy looks like. As I drove away from Susan's office, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. David had moved from calls to texts. What did you do? Call me, now. How did you hide this? I smiled, pulling into the parking lot of a small cafe, the same one where, 12 years ago, I had written the first lines of code for Chent. It seemed fitting to be here now. Finally, I answered his call. What the hell is going on? David's voice was shrill with panic. The patents, the security algorithms, the encryption protocols, they are all registered under your name, not the company's. This isn't legal. I took a slow breath. Calm down, little brother, I said. Use complete sentences. He stammered. This isn't legal. Actually, I said, it's perfectly legal. Check the licensing agreements. Chent has been paying you licensing fees for years, I said. It's all in the financial records, you just didn't check carefully enough. Silence. But that means, I finished for him. It means you now own a company with no actual technology, just offices and equipment. Congratulations on taking over an empty shell. I heard a loud crash. David was throwing things. Some things never change. You can't do this, he yelled. I'll sue you. Sue me for what? For protecting my own inventions, for legally licensing them to the company. Go ahead. No judge will side with you. More crashing. I waited for him to run out of things to break. Oh, and David, I added. There's one more thing. What? He growled. Check your email. I heard him typing, then silence. The email contained a press release, set to go public in an hour, announcing the launch of my new company, Quantum Core Technologies, and its cutting-edge encryption system. This technology would make Chen's outdated systems useless within months. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Yes, I said. While you were busy trying to steal Chen, I was building its replacement. Every major client has already seen the demo. They're just waiting for the official launch to sign contracts. You played me, he said, his voice hollow. I learned from the best, little brother. You taught me not to trust family, so I planned ahead. I imagined him slumping in my old office chair, realizing how badly he had messed up. What do you want? He finally asked. Do you want to buy Chen back? Name your price. I laughed. Why would I buy a company that's about to be worthless? You wanted Chen. Now it's yours. Enjoy watching it crumble while everyone switches to quantum core. You're destroying everything. No, I corrected him. You did that when you betrayed me. I'm just making sure I survive. Something you taught me was important. I hung up and sipped my coffee. An hour later, the press release went out. The tech world exploded with excitement. Clients rushed to sign with Quantum Core. Meanwhile, Chen's stock crashed by 60%. David's grand takeover had turned into a disaster. Then, a text from our mother. What have you done to your brother? He's devastated. I replied, ask him what he did to me first. Then we can talk about devastation. A second message followed. This time from our father. Family should stick together. This isn't right. I thought about all the family dinners where they praised David's business skills while dismissing mine. How they always pushed me to give him more control, more credit. You're right, I texted back. Family should stick together. Remember that next time one of your sons tries to steal from the other. By the end of the day, Chent was a sinking ship. Late that night, as I sat in my new office overlooking the city, another text came in. It was from David. I'm sorry, I didn't think you had it in you. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. That was always your problem, David. You never really knew me at all. I put my phone down and turned to the contracts on my desk. Former Chent clients now eager to work with Quantum Core. My new technology would make me richer than Chent ever had. But more importantly, I had learned something valuable. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to fight. It's to let your enemy think they've won, while you build something better. David got what he wanted, my old company. I got what I needed, freedom.